Hey, what's up, friends? Thanks again for joining me, and thanks for joining me every week. This channel has grown significantly since I started doing these videos every week, so thank you so much. So when you have a second, please make sure to like and subscribe, hit the bell so we can keep this going. So this week I wanted to talk about foam rolling or myofascial release. There is kind of like these several different sides to the argument of doing this or not doing this. And so my goal here is to hopefully provide some answers to the questions of foam rolling. So in the fitness industry, you hear experts say, okay, foam rolling can correct imbalances. It can realign your tissue and break up restrictions. It can help with your posture. All of these things may not actually be true because they're not yet supported by the research. It doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. However, we do want to try to stick with the research as much as possible, but also rely on your own intuition. So now, what does the research say? So when it comes to myofascial release, this is a term that has been used since the beginning of creating all of these tools, that essentially when you roll out, you're breaking up the restrictions in the tissue, also known as trigger points, that there's some adhesions in the tissue and that maybe the tissue is not aligned properly, and that by rolling it out and massage that it actually realigns that tissue. But when we look at this under a microscope, you actually might need a lot more force than you are capable of creating in your own body with a tool. So more than likely, this is not true. So using myofascial release, using that term, that might actually not be useful to us anymore. So what does foam rolling actually do? So, we can only speculate. There are very few studies that might show exactly what happens. Researchers have tried to really do a good job of what could be happening. So in the tissue, when you're rolling back and forth, that action of going back and forth actually increases friction in that point. And that friction changes the viscosity of the fluid. And so just that mechanism of this fluid being a little bit more free to move may give you more range of motion. But it's only going to do that for a couple minutes, so up to maybe 30 minutes after doing your foam rolling. Foam rolling does not increase flexibility or range of motion long term. You need to do very consistent flexibility training with static stretches, dynamic stretches, ballistic stretching, maybe even a little bit of foam rolling consistently in order to increase your flexibility long term. The fact that people say rolling can increase your range of motion, it does, but only for a short amount of time. Another mechanism could be that as you roll back and forth, you're affecting the nerves in that point. And the nerves and all of those receptors in that area communicate the sensation to your brain. And by rolling back and forth in that area may actually decrease your sense of pain and increase your pain tolerance. So anytime that maybe you have stubbed your toe and it's been super sore and you're like holding your toe and you're trying to rub your toe, that is actually called the gate control theory of pain, where maybe just that sensation makes it feel like it's getting a little bit better. By using that theory, we can use foam rolling or massage to essentially do the same thing. So let's say you do a really hard workout. Let's say you're doing a lot of squats, and the next day you have DOMS or delayed onset muscle soreness. Foam rolling that next day is actually going to affect the pain in that area. It doesn't change your tissue. It doesn't change the way that the fluid is going out of your cell. Like, it doesn't affect recovery locally to that tissue. What it is doing is affecting your pain and your tolerance to pain. So potentially, if you foam roll the next day before your next session, you may actually be able to have a pretty decent session without the sense of pain in the body. So how can you apply the use of foam rolling? A great way is to use it in your warm-up. So if you're someone who needs that extra range of motion before you go out climbing or whatever activity that you're doing, go ahead and use the foam roller or any of these tools to open you up. So for example, if you're going on a climb that needs maybe 2 massive heel hooks, you're double heel hooking, you need a big range of motion in your hips, you can do a really nice warm up, a little bit of cardio, and then you can do the foam rolling after that. So make sure that you're increasing the temperature in your body, you're getting that blood flow, and then you're using the foam roller or a ball or something just to open up that tissue. And then after that, you could follow that up with dynamic movement or even a static stretch. There is a lot of research that does show that static stretching could affect your performance. However, a lot of those studies are conducted in a way that you're stretching statically and then immediately going and doing a high intensity effort. And as climbers, we wouldn't necessarily be doing that. You can use static stretches for your lower body. I would maybe stay away from doing any kind of static stretches for your arms prior to climbing. So you can use foam rolling in your warm-up, you can use it before a static stretch. And then another great time to do it is after your workout. There has been substantial amount of research showing that foam rolling or massage will increase your parasympathetic nervous system. And this is the nervous system that really promotes relaxation and recovery. So when you hear people make claims about foam rolling improving recovery, that's really what they mean, is that it improves your relaxation, the ability for the muscles to just calm down and relax so that your next day you'll perform a little bit better. So after your workout, you could do maybe 10 to 20 minutes of foam rolling, and it doesn't necessarily have to be certain body parts. Oftentimes doing a little bit of rolling on the stomach or maybe the bigger muscles may promote bigger sensations of relaxation. You pair this with a little bit of breathing and you're feeling good to go. So I would say, you could do this again in your warm-up or post-session, or maybe before you go to sleep. The research shows that maybe 30 to 60 seconds of foam rolling per area is gonna be good enough to get that sensation of increased range of motion and relaxation. And then you don't need to go really hard with your foam rolling. You don't have to really suffer through that pain, because the research does show that, it doesn't really matter as long as it's around 50 to 60% of that pain tolerance. It's going to have the same effect as 90% pain tolerance. So you can really chill when it comes to your foam rolling. So give this a go. I'd love to hear how you use foam rolling, whether it gives you a sense of relaxation and the sense of being able to perform a little bit better in your next session. For me personally, I use it in my warm-ups depending on how much pain I have in my body. If I start my session off with quite a bit of pain, especially in my lower back or my legs, it actually helps me to psychologically prepare for my session. So if I'm in pain, I foam roll, it decreases the pain. Now I feel like I'm ready to go. And then sometimes I will use it at the beginning of my flexibility sessions, especially if I'm feeling super tight in a certain area. That really does help me open up for a flexibility session. So let me know how that goes. I would love to hear your feedback and your comments. And remember to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next week.